All right, sync complete. Hello, guys and gals. Me, Mudahar, your chubby Indian guy on the internet. Now, before I start this video off, I must reply with, I am not a racist individual at all. You might be wondering, oh, Muda, how can you say that? I mean, how is this such a Fuck racism and all that shit. Trust me, it's not a controversial statement at all. The reason I have to mention it is because there's a lot of smooth brains on the internet, and you might as well say this stuff as a disclaimer so that when you start the video off, somebody's like, well, the world is one or the other, and if you're not with us, you're against us. You gotta just nip that mentality in the ass. I despise everyone equally, and I believe that the only right race is the Tyrian race. And with all that said, all jokes aside, again, you have to fucking reiterate everything in 2020 nowadays. I just wanted to get into something that I found a little disgusting and fucked up. So if you don't know what's been going on, bro, my neighbors are going at it again, dude. It's in the morning. What the fuck? Now, this is an account by the name of Sky Jackson. Now, if you don't know who Sky Jackson is, I didn't know either. I looked at it, and she's apparently like a pretty prominent child actress who grew up. She's 18 now. She does like, I think, a couple Disney shows and like maybe a Netflix show. And she has about 500,000 followers on fucking Twitter, right? So, you know, pretty sizable fucking audience. And with a sizable audience, you have to have, what's that word? What's that? Responsibility. Yeah, you gotta have some responsibility, because when you have such an audience, you have to treat it pretty fucking gingerly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, she's basically been exposing a bunch of people's like abhorrent social practices where they made like really dumb racist tweets, some of them jokes, some of them pretty heavy. And in her defense, she's actually called out people who are in like really fucking massive positions of power. I believe off her Twitter feed, I came across like an actual like fucking professor at a university who's making really dumb racial shit, which yeah, if you work at a university and you're making tweets like that, how you didn't get fired yet is a little bit fucking beyond me. But a lot of people that are under her like under her gun at this point are people that are fucking minors, you know, people that are children under the age of 18. Now, I just want to start this whole thing off by saying this is where you enter a fucking powder keg. Now, in order to get on her Twitter feed at this point, I believe the only thing you really need is to provide her receipts. Now, what are these receipts? Well, let me just put in a situation. Let's say that I was talking to my friend Kyle and I got into a nasty argument and I wanted to fucking cancel him. All I would basically have to do is look at like a message of ours, download it, and Photoshop it or inspect element that shit and just say, oh wow, Kyle called me a dirty, smelly 7-Eleven owning Pajit, and call it a day. Now, as you can see, that's pretty fucked up. And if I sent that out to an account like this, they would say, oh well, here's Kyle, the big fucking super racist. They drop their full name, where Kyle worked, and then you can understand the rest of the community goes pretty fucking apeshit on it. Now, the problem with that is when you're doing it that way, you tend to share information that may not be completely legitimate, because while there are people sharing actual racist tweets out there and actual racist interchanges between each other, you come across people who come up with falsified evidence, sending it over here, and these people just retweet it out, and then what happens is, you know, Sky doesn't outright like dox an individual, I would say. You know, they give out a full name, where they go to school, and it's from that the audience over here, when you open up any of these tweets, there's people in the audience who are doing all the work, you know, down there. They're out there finding addresses, phone numbers, all this shit going at them. So you might have started it, but then the rest of this fucking absolute nutcase follower group is out there just straight running a targeted harassment campaign. It is targeted harassment. It is 100% targeted. Now, it's where, like I said earlier, in the defense of Sky, like, I understand what her goal is. Like, obviously she's against racism. We all fucking are. And to her, this is just a way against it. She's calling people out for terrible fucking social media practices they've had. But the problem with this cancel culture stuff is how decontextualized some of these situations are. While there are some legitimate, like, really racially charged people that she calls out, there's a bunch of other, like, teenagers or, like, minors or people who are just, like, really, they're not exactly, I would say, they're just making really stupid fucking jokes, really edgy tweets, and some of them, you know, they're not actually like racist if you really look into it, right? They're just people making dumb jokes, or they're singing along to, like, you know, hip hop songs or whatever you want to call it. So it is kind of like a weird range of where you're getting into. Where you totally lost me in this entire situation is this tweet she made, where she said, "Please do not comment on his page anymore. Someone sent me the wrong I'm going to censor that. I'm going to censor all the names here because I'm not going to sit here and release somebody's name. It's just not going to fucking happen. He is not that one who made the racist song, just to clear that up. So here she like targeted some dude, and this guy had made like a racist song. The person who she targeted deactivated his account and privated it. So people went from that person to the other person with the same name. So this guy had to make a fucking statement and say, listen, I'm just here about spreading positivity. The two people who did make the song, who are named after him, deleted their socials. This is a case of mistaken identity, and I will not allow my name to be tarnished. This is what I'm talking about, okay? Now, just let me put into context. During the whole H3 Keem drama, when they were like going at it, there was one person who had made a tweet admitting to a federal crime, right, of like DDoSing websites. And I got really pissed at that. I made a mention of it. Now, that person had contacted me and told me about like, hey, I'm getting a bunch of people calling me out, and he was telling himself that he was going to like, you know, off himself at some point. I took it very seriously. I removed any tweet that I had, and I messaged the person on a personal level and had a discussion. I felt like a fucking dad that night, where I talked to this person. I had an actual gentleman discussion. I said, listen, you're like a 19-year-old fucking kid, 20-year-old kid. You're young. And I got to tell you, as a 26-year-old guy, like, I got to be your fucking dad and tell you not to do something. Ever since then, that person has wised the fuck up and matured, and that's the best outcome you can have from any of these situations. The problem is when you get into things like targeted harassment, listen, me, Sky, a lot of these people that are public figures, we can handle a little bit of backlash. We don't fucking care. You know, at the end of the day, we have done this so long that we have gotten used to some of the punches that are thrown at us. The problem with a lot of people, especially people who are minors, can't deal with any of this. You know, they have to, when your inboxes are blown up with a ton of people telling you to kill yourself or do any of that shit, yeah, that could really end up happening to a person. Like, when you run targeted harassment campaigns, expect the fucking worst that could happen. And you know what the worst is. I'm not going to have to specifically spell out every single thing. Now, I'm going to show you one. This is where, like, she shows, like, a racist video from somebody. And yeah, I don't support any of the behavior. But, like, one of her tweets is, like, she gives a full name, where he lives, roughly, tells you the school that he's going to go to, and of course all of this information she's dug out from this person's social media accounts, which, again, if you're on social media, don't share all your personal information. People can find that stuff really quickly. So she didn't outright dox anybody, but then you go down into the comment section and there's people just exposing other random individuals. So yeah, it's kind of fucked up, and it's kind of really heavy. And now I understand the whole concept of it. I get it. Fighting against racism, I understand it. But when you're targeting kids, and when you're targeting literally involves you retweeting receipts from individuals that you yourself have not 100% verified, you've lost me. Now, this takes me to like a video I made not too long ago where I looked at Club Penguin. We looked at a very serious situation. And in that video, I almost always pretty much said, anytime I see a screenshot, I don't believe it until I can connect to a server, refresh, and check it for myself. And I think the same level of journalistic standard has to apply to people who are willing to do this. You have to 100% verifiably know that the people you have sent a hate brigade on are actually guilty of the crimes that you've committed. Because the reality of it is, when you target harass somebody based on illegitimate proof and they do the worst, that shit should fucking probably backfire on you 100%. And it actually will. You know, she's opened up a situation where the people that she's wrongfully hurt actually have a case of defamation against her. And if they decided to class action, I wouldn't actually be surprised given the situation that we're going through right now in the world, especially in North America. Shit's fucked up, for sure. And this takes me to like my final point of the situation. Listen, your boy hates racism, 100%, but this is just like a kind of an off-topic tangent. I understand what Sky's trying to do. I'm not going to throw her under the bus because I believe her intentions are actually fucking pure. Remember that when you put such a charge on someone like, hey, here's a racist person, here's a pedophile, here's all these people, if you get it wrong, that person's gonna have that shit stick on him for their life. Like, granted, again, it dissipates over time, but it'll be there, right? It is what it is. Now, again, like I said, her intentions are pure, and I think she meant really well. But again, it's the wrong fucking way to sort of do it. You don't want to be on the hill of exposing minors in this case and actually getting it wrong in this situation. Now, with all that said, okay, just an off-tangent thing, when it comes to racist people, the last thing you should ever do is ever even devolve yourself to that level. When you're fighting people with racist ideology, it's their ideology that's fucked up. Giving attention to racist people, in this case, if she called out somebody who was actually racist, then you fucked up because you gave them an extra 40 people that'll listen to them. Granted, 20 of them will laugh, 10 more will laugh even harder, but there might be 10 who say, oh yeah, shit, fuck, white power. And that's where you end up, fucking up a little bit. When you don't give them attention, they're literally yelling at a fucking brick wall. And that's just funny as fuck to watch. But the thing about it, the final thing is, you're fighting people that have a really shitty ideology. The way you combat racism is you actually go up to it and you say, listen, I'm going to be above it. I'm going to fucking be a proper person. I'm going to treat you the right way. It's kind of like how Gandhi did things, right? He changed the fucking world to an extent. When you become nice and you overcome the stereotype and you become a better fucking human being because of it, then the people who have really shitty beliefs will actually have their entire worldview fucking crushed. And then, maybe, just maybe, they'll change. In this case, when it comes to people that are under the age of 18 and they're still making dumb, edgy jokes, listen, I'll admit it, 100%. Back in the days of Halo 3, Modern Warfare 2, your boy said some fucked up shit. Behind closed doors with my close friends, hell yeah, we make fucked up jokes all the time. I'm no saint. I'm not a fucking, I'm not a holier than thou individual. And I think nobody watching this video really, truly is. If you are, then I don't think you're really living the world. But at the end of the day, man, when it comes to these children specifically, sometimes it's better to not just outright destroy their fucking lives going forward. And it's better to sit them down, talk to them on a personal level, as a fucking adult, and educate them on why they're wrong. Because the moment you do that, then you truly start instilling seeds of change in the world. And that's what fucking matters. You want to make the world great for the next generation? Then be prepared to educate. It's a long fucking way there. But you don't fight hatred with more hatred. You don't fight fire with fucking fire. That's just a bullshit mentality to have. So learn to educate, learn to move on forward. And all that said, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. Again, don't harass anybody. Don't throw any shade to anybody. This is just what I've been feeling. And I think I've said it long enough. Yeah, this is me, Muda, and I am out.